do not down tools effectively to make sure that those refineries were working. Even till now, with all the hula baloo that we have seen government do as it concerns the refinery with NNPC Limited, we've all been in this country. Let's be very honest with ourselves now. NUPENG has been there. Port Harcourt Refinery, see all the story they have been giving us, structural completion and all the grammar that they gave and then opened it and then now it's not working again and the road there is bad and all of these other things are there. No, not to say that, NUPENG doesn't have his right to point out that Dangote is trying to monopolize the system. But the competition that is supposed to be a competition, you have been there working with it. And that was a monopoly on its own. And everybody thought that the NNPC just running this thing wasn't going to work. The NNPC had been the monopoly of this for quite a long time. Let's also be honest with this. Dangote actually came as a competition. The Dangote refinery came in as the competition. So if the Port Harcourt Refinery, NNPC Limited doesn't fix the Port Harcourt Refinery or the Kaduna Refinery or the Warri Refinery, or they don't allow other modular refineries to work, you can't say that Dangote is killing competition, can you? Can we say that he is killing competition in that sense? So these are some of the allegations. Some of the allegations that I can put out for you now. There are several others. Hopefully, we'll find out from my guest as soon as we get him on. But the conflict has continued. NUPENG, threatened. And there was a meeting that was instituted by the federal government through the Ministry of Works, of Labor, yeah. And the Minister for Labor had negotiated this meeting himself and his Minister of State. And it was not yielding any positive results. And it's looking like NUPENG might still, which then brings us to the next thing. NUPENG accusing people of monopoly. But this is the concern. You are now, don't you think that your action now, if you are saying, we are going to go on strike, isn't that you also showing the dangers of the union that you are now? Because people will now look at it as, okay, so you are saying you go on strike, so you are trying to show that you have power. Isn't this power what we're trying to decentralize as well? Because it's almost the same thing you want to accuse, you think Dangote wants to do. So imagine if everybody has to be with NUPENG. That means if NUPENG wakes up and says, we are not doing, everywhere goes down. That's what it means. Not to say that the government should be absorbed of any wrongdoing, because if the government was also doing well, there wouldn't be problem. So the point here is, it clearly looks as though the same thing that the government is doing, that NUPENG is accusing the government and Dangote of, could just be the same thing that they show in their actions. Well, let's take a short commercial. When we come back, we'll get on to my guest and we'll hear from you as well and find out more. On Facebook, at Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. That's the handle on Facebook. The WhatsApp number is 0809 030 6416. Should it be compulsory to belong to any existing union? Let us know what your thoughts are.
The Governing Council Management
Straight to the phone lines and get your thoughts and contributions now. 0817 923 0007. 0817 923 0007. You can also call 0817 923 0002. We're trying to establish contact with my guest. Unfortunately, we've not been able to do that, but he had told me, suggesting that NUPENG might have a protest today. Perhaps that is working around to sort that out, and that's the reason why he's not been taking his calls. But we've been trying to get across to him. For those who do not know who my guest was supposed to be, is the chairman, Petroleum Tanker Drivers, NUPENG, Port Harcourt Refinery Unit, Comrade John Bosco. We'll continue to try, and if we can lay hold of him before we finish the conversation, then we would hope that he clears the air for us on a few issues so people better understand what the issue is with NUPENG and the position of the Dangote Group. In the meantime, should it be compulsory to be a member of NUPENG or any other union? Should it be compulsory? Now, remember, this particular behavior we find also in markets. All right, if you go to markets and you just carry your thing and you go and drop in the market to sell, the other people will not allow you. Because why? It's almost like they have an agreement. All of them, there's a union, and they agree this is how much you want to sell, how we are going to do. So when you go, you ask this one, you ask this one, you ask that one. They're all going to give you similar prices. So you don't have a choice, you know. And if you are the one person that is selling way below whatever they had agreed, then there's going to be a problem for you in that market. This is not, this kind of operation is carefully niched in different areas of our daily lives as a society. But as it concerns the oil and gas sector now, it's a big concern. On one hand, NUPENG feels it should have its members. And what does the the drivers of the CNG buses for the Dangote Refinery being members of NUPENG, for instance, what would it then mean for Dangote Refinery? Because that would mean that Dangote Refinery employs these guys to work for him, right? And if NUPENG then says it is going on strike for whatever reason that does not concern Dangote Refinery, because would those drivers now have to say they are not also going to work with Dangote Refinery? Don't forget, the Dangote Refinery is not owned by or run by government. It is not owned or run by government. So NUPENG also need to look at his operations and then carefully try to consider the various sectors. Well, let's get your thoughts first. 0817-923-0002. Lebari from Bori, good morning.
Good morning, my brother in the Temple of the Press.
Good morning to you.
Well, you asked the question and you are giving answer to all the questions. Now, I will beckon on the NUPENG to allow competition in the society. If you look at what is saying, that labor law, they emphasize on labor law, that all those working in oil and gas industry should belong to NUPENG. I will bring the question between INEC and Nigeria Constitution, the judiciary, where they say electoral law has not been fixed into the Constitution. Now, our Constitution allows freedom of association. And they say now they are trying to compel someone to belong to some certain association. Is that right? Answer is no. And as it stands, if they want to compel Dangote staff to belong to NUPENG, anytime they declare dam tools, the dam masses will suffer the effect of it. That's why they are driving this strike too. But if they allow competition to be in the system, Dangote, if NUPENG they are on strike, the society will still have access to petroleum or oil and gas products. So they should allow Dangote, who have helped to employ these people that were unemployed all this while, where government failed to fix our refineries. They should allow them to exercise their rights, exercise freedom.
All right, Lebari, thank you very much. Jude Inomuma, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jude.
The Nigerian people may not understand fully what NUPENG, the good thing NUPENG is trying to do to the employees of Dangote by asking Dangote employees to join the union. John, you said that Dangote is not a government-owned industry, so they have a right to do what they want. But let me tell you, when we formed these unions in the 70s, I here time without number, I am a founding member of Pengasin. We had these two unions, Pengasin for the senior staff and NUPENG for the junior staff in the upstream then. But the refineries were there when they came. The NUPENG now has to go down to the downstream. The refineries now came up to join the NUPENG. But then, the question you ask, if we say things that we're all in the oil industry, because the labor list says those in the oil industry will belong to one union, either NUPENG or Pengasin. Now, Dangote is a privately owned. Can the workers whom Dangote have said you must belong to the union created by the same company under the company's management, can they bargain? They don't have the power to bargain for themselves. They are just being enslaved, or they will be enslaved. It is the union that will do the bargaining.
All right, Jude.
Has the bargaining power to bargain for
Jude,
the workers.
let me say this, Jude. Hold on, just so we get more clarity. The Pengasin and NUPENG created at the time, it was the government running the refineries.
I can't hear you.
Oh my goodness. Okay. If you can't hear me over the radio, I'd like you to listen, and then if you can call back and let us know. At the time the NUPENG and Pengasin were existing, what we had was the government controlling the NNPC was in charge of controlling that sector and the refineries. Yes? So it simply meant that the government was the employer. And so most of the people that we had from the government extraction had to negotiate with government. It was the reason why these drivers can easily down to when certain things happen with the refinery or the NNPC, because the government had, this was before we now decided to come with the PIA and the other things that we have now and we're trying to, which still doesn't make sense, because as much as we are saying on paper that, we are trying to break this thing down into bits, it still doesn't, in reality, in practice, it's still not looking that way. But that aside, so how come these unions, this is a question I'd like us to ponder on and answer, how come these unions didn't do what they need to do, or maybe they did, but it wasn't enough? What did they do to make sure that the refineries owned by government, that many of them work with and work for or work under, directly or indirectly, how come they did not use their influence as the unions to make sure those refineries were working or should be working by now? That's number one question. Because if they did that and we had all the other refineries functioning, at least let's say the three major ones that we know, Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna, functioning properly, then Dangote owning a private refinery would not be much of a problem, because Dangote is the one providing the competition, not the other way around. I think the idea is a lot of people making it look like Dangote is monopolizing a system that Dangote came to meet. Don't forget, the NNPC had been in charge there. JJ from Rumigbo, good morning. Hello, JJ. Okay, let's go to Rumokuta. Chima, good morning.
Ifiemi, good morning. Thank you very much. Mr. Ifiemi, let me say it is out of ignorance that we suffer. And most of the time, it is not even because of ignorance, because we will say our government has failed us in certain policies. that what you just said initially, that when you go to the market and they will not allow you to say because you're not a member of that union. Meanwhile, we are allowed for freedom of association. And this thing is not just only applicable to the oil sector. Even the people that applies on the road, those say transport union, whatever case. But the issue is that this union has been formed for pressure, for a kind of a pressure group. So to maybe protecting the people's displeasure or whatever against the government. But you see how they use it for their own personal aggrandizement. Just now look at what is happening. Because of they are having something with Dangote that isn't a government. They're now down to the whole of the nation. Now we're not going to have where for some time because of you must adhere to what they are doing. Now the issue is that now, if they are to come in that aspect, that is why I have been trying to disdain myself on this discussion. Dangote on one aspect, trying to say if you're unionized, that is not going to employ you. Isn't that against socialism? That because of I am from social place, because I'm from social thing, you will not deprive me, even if I am qualified to work in your company. That one is one aspect. Then them their own. If I have refused to belong to you, then I shouldn't be employed, or I must be a union. That is the thing I'm talking about, this whole thing.
All right, Chima, I think is well put, which is exactly the point many people are making. And not to say that Dangote is free of doesn't have it. I'm pretty sure the company have its excesses and there are issues that need to be dealt with. But also, I think we should begin to also look at, perhaps, we critically look at the laws that establish these things, and we understand the key fundamental role of unions, and also the government, who I think is the one that have failed the most in all of this. Because if there were adequate laws, proper checks and balances, there would be a limit to how far unions can go and how far employers can go. But it clearly looks like the system is what it is. And now it's coming back to haunt everybody. We'll take two more calls and then we wrap things up. Emeka from Elele, good morning.
Yes, Ifiemi, good morning.
You're welcome.
My dear brother, we have a serious problem in this country. When I was in university, there's a course that we call History of Education. The major thing that is affecting the economy most is too many unions. I don't know whether you have overheard the other time that drivers also have formed a union now.
No, they have a lot. They have several unions now for drivers, a lot.
And the pain is no driver, and now present is conductor. Conductor have a union.
Yes. Wheelbarrow pushers have union.
Well, that is the problem of the country. That is the problem. Too many unions. What is the business of
and you cannot push wheelbarrow if you don't belong to the union, or you can't push wheelbarrow in that market, which is what I don't understand why.
People allow Dangote to manage his business, but Dangote is not the problem of the country. Are they enemy of this country? Why are they greedy?
All right, thank you very much, Emeka.
No.
Chima and Ada George, and then Magnus from our three, and that's it. Chima, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew.
All right, go on.
Andrew, I think NUPENG is trying to usurp the power that they don't have. The last time Dangote issued statement about bringing how many trucks?
1,000 CNG trucks. It is that those trucks are partly a part of the reasons why we're having this conversation, because the drivers of those trucks are the ones that are supposed to be part of NUPENG.
Look, Andrew. Do you know that when Dangote made that statement, NUPENG, issue a counter statement against him, because he said he was going to take petrol from his refinery
directly to the filling stations.
To any of the filling stations. So what is the point of this NUPENG? If not for the fact that they want to be in charge, anytime they decide to that too, then Nigeria will suffer. That is all what they want. And I'm beckoning on Nigerians to rally behind Dangote and ensure that NUPENG should not disrupt whatever Dangote is trying to do. Because all they want is, whenever you quarrel with their wife, they will go on strike. Nigerians will suffer. Then for that not to happen, because of these Dangote trucks and the rest of them, they want to unionize. Look, you can't coerce somebody to be whatever I want to be. Even in drivers' union, there are different kind of unions you have road transport workers. They belong to different unions. So you can't co-opt people to belong to your union.
All right, Chima, thank you. Magnus, let's hear you quickly. Please make it short from our three. Good morning.
Andrew, good morning to you.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I think apart from the politics that is in the petroleum sector in this country, I think there is fear of the unknown. Andrew, there was a time you invited Mr. Joseph Obele to your studio, and he told you that he is scared that Dangote would monopolize the system if things are not being taken care of. And that is the fear of NUPENG. You remember what happened in the cement industry, where there was monopoly and particular, group of persons were trying to say things how they like and what they like. So that's the fear that NUPENG, I'm seeing that NUPENG are having, and that's why they're agitating that Dangote must not be given all the necessary power or the necessary things to handle this petroleum sector.
All right, Magnus, the time will not allow us, but let's think about it. Who is giving Dangote power? If the government does what the government does, the same countries, let's look at the pollution problem we have with the oil company. Mira from Okrika, unfortunately, we don't have time. So sorry, we can't attend to you. Let's look at the pollution problem we have in the Goni axis and most of the other companies that come and have been polluting parts of the Niger Delta and how they do the cleanups. Go and look at those same companies and how they operate outside Nigeria. They don't operate the same way. It's the same company. So the problem is what made it different. It's simply, have we thought about maybe the government isn't the ones doing what they ought to do? Because now we're saying Dangote wants to monopolize. This was a system that had been controlled solely by the NNPC for a long time. That was monopoly. And in that, it would work. How come we have a private competition now, and the private competition is what everybody thinks will become monopoly? Is it the private competition that is stopping the refineries from not working? Let's answer that question first. Not to say that Dangote doesn't have issues or areas where we need to look at. Of course they are. But let's be realistic. I think we should look at both people involved and realize that everybody has a role to play in where we are now. My name is Ifiemi Andrew. Good morning. We have a commercial coming. We'll quickly take it. And then the news at 9 is next.